September 12th, 2025, 12:47 a.m., Baltic Sea, 4 minutes. That's how long it took for two oil tankers, together worth $380 million, to go from routine loading operation to international incident. 4 minutes of fire that shut down 20% of Russia's oil exports. 4 minutes that sent shockwaves through global energy markets. Tonight, we're going to reverse engineer those 4 minutes, not with speculation, with mechanics. How does a port designed to survive missile strikes get crippled by drones that cost less than a Toyota? The answer isn't technology, it's psychology. Two Aframax tankers sit heavy at berth, their decks washed in sodium light, a haze of vapor. $18 million of crude oil per hull, ready to sail at dawn. Far offshore, the sea looks empty, until a dozen green specks appear on a radar screen. Then they multiply, and they begin to move with intent. Is it a software glitch, a training artifact, or the opening move in a quiet war that doesn't need battleships to break a port? Let's decode it. Before we talk tactics, we need to understand the target. Primorsk isn't just another port. It's Russia's gateway to European oil markets. 20% of Russia's seaborne crude exports flow through here. That's 1 million barrels per day, $70 to $80 million every single day. But here's what makes it a nightmare to defend. Ports are choreography. Pipes push pressure. Valves whisper open and shut. Tugs nudge hulls onto painted lines. Crews work under predictable light, in predictable patterns, because predictability is how you move millions of barrels without drama. Break the choreography, just for a few hours, and the ripples reach insurance desks, trading floors, and fuel buyers who never see the sea. But ports like Primorsk don't live naked under the moon. They sit under a web. Long-range search radars, engagement radars, interceptor missiles, close-in gun systems, lookout posts, patrol roads, cameras, floodlights, and the human nervous system that stitches it all together. On a schematic, it's impressive. In a briefing slide, it looks airtight. And that is where plans like tonight's start. Not with a miracle weapon, but with the confidence that comes from believing your wall is a wall. So the question Ukrainian planners faced wasn't, can we hit it? It was, how do we hit it when it sits under one of the most advanced air defense networks NATO has ever studied? The answer? They didn't fight the system, they played it. Let's talk about the anatomy of a swarm attack, because this isn't Hollywood. This is systems warfare. Ukrainian planners faced a brutal math problem. Picture this: 3 concentric circles around the port. Outer circle, 400 kilometers out. Nebo M radars scanning the horizon. That's the distance from Paris to Brussels. They see everything moving. Middle circle, 250 kilometers. S-400 batteries with 48 N-6 missiles. That's the kill zone. 6-figure missiles that can engage at hypersonic speeds. Inner circle, 20 kilometers. Pantsir S-1 systems. Twin 30mm cannons. 5,000 rounds per minute. The last line of defense. Now, if you send drones straight at this wall, they die. Simple as that. So Ukraine designed an attack in 3 layers of its own. Layer 1, decoy saturation. Imagine you're the Russian radar operator. Your screen lights up with 40 contacts. High altitude, easy to track, heading straight for St. Petersburg, Russia's second largest city, home to 5 million people. What do? You engage. You have to. Those decoys, plywood frames with GPS modules and basic motors. They cost less than a used car, but they're burning million-dollar missiles. More critically, they're burning time and attention. Every operator watching those 40 contacts isn't watching somewhere else. Layer 2, electronic harassment. While your best crews focus on the noisy targets, other drones fly low. Not attacking, just confusing. Fast, hard to classify profiles that upset your tracking gates. Out-of-envelope speeds that make your radars second guess. Signals that create false returns. If the defender's best people are staring at the wrong altitude band for 60 seconds, that's victory without firing a shot. This is the part most people miss. Modern warfare isn't about destroying the enemy's weapons. It's about destroying their attention. Layer 3, the strikers. 15 drones, modified for extended range, carrying military-grade explosive payloads, flying low along dark inlets and tree lines. Their targets aren't random, they're pressure points. Pump houses, where oil transitions from pipeline to ship. Manifolds, where multiple flows converge into single points of failure. Control centers, where emergency shutdowns should happen, but won't if the systems are destroyed first. And 2 fully loaded oil tankers sitting at berth under the lights. drawing power, running pumps, venting vapor. The most fragile moment in any shift. Maximum throughput under lights. That is when you want the sky to bloom with the wrong kind of dots. This is the plan. Now let's watch it unfold. 00:47 a.m. Launch. 73 drones take off from scattered locations across Ukraine. Different launch points, different flight paths, all converging on one region. They fly low, hugging terrain, following riverbeds, staying under radar coverage where Earth's curvature is their shield. Preloaded terrain maps guide them. Autonomous navigation, no radio signals, complete silence, some crash, technical failures, terrain strikes, expected losses. The plan accounts for it. 1:23 a.m. first detection. A Nebo-M radar operator near Pskov sees scattered returns at range. Jumpy tracks. At first, it feels like a false positive. Then the contacts multiply. He cross-checks civil flight plans. Nothing matches. He watches for another sweep. The next sweep brings friends. He runs the numbers. Dozens of targets. Low signatures. All moving toward Russian territory. His hand reaches for the alarm. Within 90 seconds, every defense system in the region wakes up angry. S-400 batteries around St. Petersburg power up. 92 N6E gravestone radars start painting targets. One by one, lock after lock. Panzer systems spin to life. Twin cannons ready. Fire control solutions computing. Duty officers call up the chain. Searchlights sweep the sky. If you've ever run defense, you know the feeling. You don't want to waste missiles. You don't want to be the unit that holds fire while the real threat glides in. You don't want to shoot too early and give the attackers a read on your doctrine. And above all, you don't want to be the person who says, wait 5 seconds too long. 2:15 a.m. The massacre begins. S-400 missiles streak into the night sky. Contrails painting arcs against darkness. 40 decoys heading for St. Petersburg. They disintegrate in clouds of plywood and foam, one by one. On Russian command screens, flawless execution, perfect intercepts. Russian commanders believe they've won. But here's what they don't see. While their systems kill decoys over St. Petersburg, 7 small contacts slip past coverage gaps 220 kilometers northwest, heading straight for Primorsk. This is the hardest part to appreciate if you've never flown low and slow. Patience is a weapon. The strike cell exploited habit. If a defender watches the sky in one pattern for long enough, a patient attacker writes a different pattern in the weeds. Under the cloud deck, where the noise has pulled eyes up, the strikers work the dark. Navigation is conservative. Speeds are modest. Profiles boring by design. Industrial districts throw off their own clutter. Hot roofs, reflections, stray radio frequency. Exactly the kind of background a small airframe loves to hide inside. 03:51 a.m. final approach. The port's dedicated Panzer battery suddenly detects movement. 7 contacts. Fast, low, close, too close. The crew scrambles. 57 E-6 missiles launch. But the geometry is wrong. Target's too low, too fast. Engagement window too tight. One drone falls. Destroyed 50 meters from its target. A brief flash. Debris raining into the Baltic. That was Russia's only win. Their last moment of hope. The other 6 split formation. 2 peel toward the pumping station. The port's beating heart. 4 lock onto the tankers. 4:02 a.m. Impact. The first explosion is deceptively small. A shaped charge punches into the main pump control building. Electronics destroyed. Circuit boards vaporized. The shutdown command that should have fired? It never executes, because the control system is already dead. Seconds later, the second drone hits the primary manifold. The blast severs critical connections. Pressure spikes. Safety valves fail open. Fire erupts. Simultaneously, the tankers. 2 drones per ship. First hits, navigation bridges and power distribution systems. The ships go dark. Emergency systems try to kick in. They don't. Second hits, cargo tanks, full of volatile crude oil. The fires merge into a single wall of flame visible from 20 kilometers away. By 4:15 a.m., Primorsk is burning. Alarms scream. Foam systems activate. Crews in fireproof suits move with practiced discipline, fighting 2 different fires in overlapping space. A pier fire is a logistics problem. A ship fire is a naval problem. When they touch, the margin shrinks to inches and seconds. Let's be clear about something. Russia's defense didn't fail. Systems did what they were built to do. They destroyed 66 out of 73 drones. That's a 90% kill rate. In any other context, that's overwhelming success. But here's the uncomfortable truth about modern air defense. You have to be perfect every single time. Detect, classify, engage, and kill without error. The attacker? They only need to be good enough 7 times. Defense must be perfect every time. Attack only needs to be good enough once. That's not a slogan, that's mathematics. This operation revealed 3 principles reshaping modern warfare. Principle 1. Attention is a finite resource. A human operator can only focus on one sector at a time. Force them to watch 40 threats in one direction, and you own the opposite direction for free. The decoys didn't need to reach their targets. They just needed to exist for 90 seconds, long enough for the real threats to slip through coverage gaps. Principle 2. Time is more valuable than firepower. Every second, an S-400 crew spends confirming a decoy track is 1 second the real threats gain. Compound that across dozens of false targets, and suddenly your 7-second engagement window becomes 3 seconds. 3 seconds isn't enough. Principle 3. Asymmetry isn't about technology. It's about cost. If you force a defender to fire a $1 million missile at a $5,000 drone and do that 50 times in one night, you're writing bills with someone else's pen. Even when the defender wins, they lose. But here's what doesn't show up in the satellite photos. The effect wasn't just the fires. It was what happened next. By sunrise, Russian officials issued careful statements. Operations paused for precautionary inspections. Sounds bureaucratic, sounds temporary. Inside the fence, that phrase means something very different. You don't simply turn a port back on after a fire. You prove every pipe is safe to pressurize. Every sensor reads within tolerance. Every structural element hasn't been quietly weakened by heat stress. You meet with insurance surveyors carrying clipboards and cameras. You reschedule every tug, every cargo inspection, every crew rotation. You call people out of their bunks at 3 a.m. to check systems that were fine yesterday. Every checklist is a delay. Every delay is money. Every delay is a signal to markets. 1 million barrels per day, halted. At $80 per barrel, that's $80 million in revenue. Per day, not destroyed, just waiting. For 1 day, manageable. For a week, that's $500 million. And the ripple effects? Insurance premiums on these ships, part of the so-called shadow fleet dodging sanctions, just doubled, maybe tripled. Schedules to Europe's refineries get rewritten. Buyers start looking at alternative suppliers. Traders adjust futures prices. A drone that cost less than a Toyota Corolla just sent shockwaves through global energy markets. There's a reason the most viral images from strikes like this involve ships. Their theater people understand intuitively. A bright wall of flame licking a steel hull is a picture that explains itself, even if you've never heard of manifolds or flow rates. Ships concentrate attention, liability, and fear in one frame. That frame gets replayed on every screen that matters for pricing risk. Call it shadow fleet or older hulls with complicated paperwork. Whatever you name it, the psychology is the same. If berthing during a period of tension feels like volunteering for headline duty, schedulers will push for wider windows. Operators will ask for more precautions. Insurers will sharpen their pencils. The strike's real echo isn't in the wreckage. It's in the adjustments made by people who don't carry rifles. So what happens next? Defenders adapt. And they adapt fast. Expect more look-down radars aimed at low corridors over water. Additional mobile gun missile units near critical berths. Better netting. More thermal cameras at pier ends. Patrol patterns redesigned to catch the patient. Low, late profile. Staggered berthing windows so ships aren't clustered. Tug standby rehearsals for emergency pulls. More aggressive isolation drills for pump loops. These are rational responses. But adaptation has limits. You can armor a control room. You cannot armor a schedule. You can extend your sensor fence. You cannot extend the horizon of how many places you must watch with equal intensity every single night. The offense's permanent advantage? Tomorrow, they can choose to chase a different weak seam. Rail junctions feeding the port. Staging yards for fire brigades. The one unlit road where responders lose precious minutes. Defense must be good everywhere. Offense only needs to be good somewhere. Strip away the analysis, and this story stays human. Crews who drilled under daylight walked into a kaleidoscope of flame, foam, steam, and noise. and they made the right decisions fast enough to keep disaster from turning into catastrophe. Tug skippers put steel against steel in smoke so thick radios were educated guesses. Port teams worked the next 20 hours measuring, cooling, isolating, and checking so others could safely go back to work. Whatever flag flies above them, professionalism is the difference between incident and tragedy. That's not sentimental, it's operational truth. When a plan is designed to create confusion, the antidote is training that turns confusion into muscle memory. So, who won the night? If you score by craters, you miss the real game. Score by what didn't happen. Cargo that didn't load. A schedule that didn't hold. A market that didn't relax. By that measure, the attacker achieved enough. This was never a contest of cheap versus expensive. It was about attention versus distraction, tempo versus tempo, habits versus patience. A fortress that looked airtight bled the minutes it didn't have. A swarm that looked like noise carved a channel through steel. The lesson won't evaporate with the smoke. Small, layered systems, arranged with intelligence and flown with restraint, can coerce billion-dollar infrastructure to lose a day. And in modern warfare, one lost day can reshape strategies, economics, and outcomes. Now, if you're still here, you're probably the kind of person who values mechanics over myths, who wants to understand how modern systems actually work, not just watch them explode. You're in the right place. If this breakdown helped you see the chess game inside the flames, do two things. 1. Hit subscribe, because we decode the operations everyone else just headlines. 2. Share this with someone who works logistics, studies strategy, or just wants to understand the wars being fought with spreadsheets and patience. Drop a comment. Which system do you want decoded next? Hypersonic missiles and how to stop them? The economics of the Shadow Fleet? China's multi-domain strategy in the Pacific? Your votes shape what we cover. For channel members, we just dropped the Primorsk analysis pack, annotated satellite maps, approach corridors, defense gap analysis, updated as new imagery drops. Link in the description. Up next, Shadow Fleet, the insurance war. How older hulls, opaque ownership structures, and risk premiums became a silent battlefield that never makes the evening news. That video drops in 3 days. After that, countermeasures. What defenders are building right now, and how attackers are already pivoting.
Thanks for choosing signal over noise.
I'll see you in the next one.